We are hard to kill. It was something that Kirby said a couple times after Ole Miss. But Matt DeBerry, when you're hard to kill, does that mean you're not hunting anymore? I thought we were hunting. What happened to the hunting? In apostrophe. What help me out here? Like, I'm not trying to be a complete hater on this, but I do like to make sure that Kirby's, keeping it on the straight and narrow in terms of the proclamations during the season.
Now they're just trying to stay alive,
Yeah,
right?
which is it? Like, is
We're
it,
hard to kill. We're not hunting, right? We're not beating Auburn and Tennessee and Ole Miss by 20 or 30, right? We're just trying to win the game and stay alive. I guess that just, goes back to this team, and it goes back to him making sure we all know that, hey, this is a lot like the NFL, guys. It's hard to beat teams' brains in this new era of college football where there is more parity, and it's tough to just stack talent in the second and third string like we did several years ago. So he wants us all to know that playing on the SEC is really, really tough, Ryan. And week after week, you're going to get everyone's best. This is about winning the game and not being killed. So right now, it doesn't look like this team is out hunting. Sometimes the offense is hunting the opposing defense, as we saw last week, but they're trying to stay alive. They're trying to win every game, and they're trying to get into the playoffs. And it's going to be easy to do if you can't kill them.
Yeah, when he said that in 2022, right, at SEC Media Days, it was a good sentiment, but they were being hunted extra when you're the top program in college football, and teams always wanted to try to give their best against Georgia. It's a different world than it was in 2022. Teams are a little bit more even. The team that Georgia has is not quite as good. It doesn't mean it can't go on to win a lot of games. It's just not as good. And now you're seeing on a weekly basis that these games are tighter. They're a little bit more exciting. They're still being hunted in a way, I think, from other people. They're still Georgia. The G is still on the side of the helmet. They're still the reigning SEC champions. I think that makes you extra hunted. That's so I guess I look at that a little bit different than Kirby does, but it feels like in these games they're trying to survive, and that's that's good. And knowing that you can survive is a good thing because you're not necessarily out of any game. But those days where they're the hunter, they're the man, and hunting the deer, that might be over.
It might be.
Not a great analogy.
Go ahead. Say it again.
I said not a great analogy by me, but you go
Well,
I
it
ahead.
get
is
it.
a tricky. We are in a different time. I don't know, Matt, if it means that Georgia is more prepared for what's coming. I mean, like again, I've said this a couple of times. It's not wishful thinking. I think it's just reality. The best team in the regular season in 2023 did not win the national championship. The best team in the regular season in 2024 did not win the national championship. We are 7 games, not about to be 9 weeks into this season. I'm not trying to do this whole thing, the Paul Feinbaum caller thing, but I don't know that we know a ton about Ohio State. I think that we're predicating that on their win over Texas. We know with Georgia that they are a mentally, tough team, but they're going to have to continue to get better. Everybody is, and but with this team in particular, though, I you know I think you got to win how you can win, and the task for Georgia is probably different than it is for a few other teams around the country. I'm just saying, as it relates to this topic, I do think that Kirby Smart, having been around him now for this 10-year period, he is always on the front foot. And saying we're hard to kill, that's a little bit defensive versus we're going to hunt. And I'm sure someone will get this clip to him, and that's fine. Whatever. But I think I think you do have to avoid being killed these days in college football because everybody's taking L's.
Yeah, I think it was him also trying to reiterate the fact that this team does have heart.
Yeah.
They will push through adversity, and they might be losing, and you might beat them like Alabama did, but you're not going to completely kill them
Right.
because they're going to keep fighting. And whatever it is, the next week they're going to keep fighting, and they're going to give you everything they have for 4 quarters. And I think that's probably what he was trying to say in a way. But if you're going hunting, you don't get down 14 points. All right.
Right.
And you don't have to fight your way back if you're hunting someone else. And I just think he's saying, hey, we might be getting down and it might not look great at times, but you can't kill us because we're going to fight back and we're going to be the tougher team for 4 quarters. It may not, again, we may struggle a little bit here and there in first half, maybe in the third quarter, but you're not going to kill us because we're going to dominate the final 15 minutes of the game. And Auburn and Ole Miss, they're like, yeah, we couldn't kill them. Good luck, everyone else, because this team, they've got something, and it's that heart and the adversity that they push through. Everything we've talked about for several weeks now about this team. They're hard to kill, and they've proven it so far.
Ryan,
Yeah, I think what you were saying, Dean. Oh,
give me a second here, Ryan. Let me make the argument that Alabama is the best team in the country and not Ohio State. And here's why I say that. We've just seen too much of Texas now to know that, yeah, go ahead, Matt, say it.
They're frauds. I said this last week. If they can't, I know playing in Lexington is tricky, but if they couldn't go up there and get it rolling against a bad Kentucky team, total frauds. I cannot trust them, and they've proven that. That Ohio State win over them was great at the time, but I think their more impressive win was probably, Ryan, going out to Seattle and beating Washington
Yes.
or beating Indiana the way they did. That was a lot
They
more
didn't beat
impressive.
Indiana. You mean Illinois?
Illinois.
They
Yes.
only beat Illinois by 18 points. I mean, I guess what I would say is that, Ryan, they're not thumping people. They're beating people. They thumped Minnesota. Wisconsin is pretty rough, and they should really do Penn State pretty rough. We will not know a lot, to be honest, about Ohio State until we get into the playoff. There's just not much. This schedule could not. It's just like playing Johns Creek, 12 times in a season, or or whoever, Marist. I mean, that's what I would say about this Georgia team is, and Alabama. And I mean, Alabama, the problem with Alabama is explaining away that Florida State loss, Ryan. But with Georgia, even with Tennessee, with Ole Miss, with A&M, less so with A&M, but they have played legitimate teams multiple times. And a couple of those guys have losses. I cannot explain Alabama's loss to Florida State. They just were not the better team that day, and you can lose. That was bad luck. But the SEC is just so much better than the Big Ten right now. It's just not even close.
yeah, top to bottom for sure. It's not the same. I think that you can't throw away the Alabama loss to Florida. They can, and that they will do that as they move on throughout the season. That's what Alabama should do, but we can't talking about it because it did happen, and they showed they could get their brains kicked in
Right.
on the road. Now it is a week one game, and maybe they just weren't ready, and they got ready 1 week too late. Those are all things that could be true, but you do look at the last couple of seasons, and I agree with you. The best regular season teams were not the ones that went on to win. It was probably Georgia in 23 and then Oregon last year.
Exactly.
So what does that mean for Georgia? They can claw their way through this thing and still maybe go on to fight and win because it is a new reality and it is a different college football world that I think that we're still getting used to. But this is what it is now, and they're going to have to claw and fight and survive and not totally be killed in the second half in order to get this done. At the end of the day, I think that it'll show in December, in January, the teams that had to deal with tougher opponents throughout the year. Oregon was more battle tested a season ago or excuse me, Ohio State was more battle tested a season ago than it is this year. They may not have been the best regular season team, but it was what a lot of people thought was the most talented team. And they played in some significant games that was good experience heading into it. So I think it's a little bit different when you look at it this year, and they're not getting tested as much. Indiana's not getting tested quite as much, right? The teams that are dominating the Big Ten right now. For Georgia, just clawing and getting there, you just got to get there, right? Because then you've got an opportunity. Now we've seen, look, you could be an 8 seed and go on and win the national championship as long as you put yourself in position to do that. Kirby doesn't care, right? He just wants to get there, and they're just going to do it, and they want to grind it out with these teams. If that's the way it's going to be, then we are going to see more of these dramatic second halves before conference championship weekend.
Yeah, and our friends at Sales Hatch are going to get you where you need to go before the playoff starts. Just give them a call, reach out to them by email or on their website. And what they're going to do for you, if you own a business, they're going to give you the leads that you need, okay? You're not going to be taking 4 hours out of your day getting to the right person. That is really hard to do. Let Sales Hatch do that for you. You see the QR code on the screen. I just think, to me, Matt, that if you were hunting, is everybody hunting now? I mean, like, so that's one thing that Kirby, they are hard to kill, no question. But I think, if it were me, my mentality would be, let's get our guns and go out there. Let's not be running, away or getting into cage fights with somebody else. Let's go out with our guns, Matt, and go take out whoever it is that we're in a fight with that day. They're not at that point yet. They're hunting in the fourth quarter. I'm going to let you know that right now. Against everybody this whole season, they have done really well in the second half, but in the fourth quarter particularly. Maybe not, the exception being Marshall. But they have really done that, and it's the style in which they play. It may be that now it's a combination of hunting and staying alive.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to hunt when you don't have any guns on the defensive side of the football,
Yeah.
too. They've got some on offense, and we've seen that, but they've got to really work on that side of the ball. Kirby, I guess, said yesterday that, hey, the problems that we have aren't the ones y'all think. Okay, we know what our problems are. We're going to fix them, but it's not necessarily what the Georgia fans think it is. So he knows he's got to get it together, but eventually they need the defense to start playing a lot better. I mean, I don't know when the last national champion did not have a really good to elite defense. You have to have it, and they're still working on that right now.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's been a while since.
Go ahead, Ryan.
It's been a while. This is something I was looking into a few months ago. It's been a good while since a national champion hasn't had, I think, a top 20 defense, right? And most of them have a top 10 total defense. So it's just a necessary ingredient to a championship recipe.
I would be curious to see some of these Big Ten teams play, specifically Tennessee and Ole Miss, the style that those two teams play. We saw what Tennessee was not able to do against that Ohio State team last year on offensively. But Georgia has definitely played some really good offenses so far this season. The back end is not as lit up with those things. Anyway, we'll talk about that on a new video sometime soon. Hey, thanks for watching.